Good morning. This is Kim with Embody, and my website is www.embody-light.com. So today's video is in response to questions I get a lot of the time about spiritual contracts and can we alter them? Well, let me start by explaining what a spiritual contract is. So prior to incarnating, we are our higher selves. We're on the other side with source making plans to come back into our next lifetime. So, whatever we're choosing to come into, we will contract with certain individuals to play out certain roles. You're going to be my mother, you're going to be my father, you're going to be my friend, you're going to be a coworker, that type of thing. And so they're going to play out certain roles. So, you're choosing to come into a life, and particularly in this lifetime where we're tying up all of the loose ends, all of the pieces from past lives where we maybe they weren't complete or we wanted further clarity. So we choose people to come into life with, and some of those people are to push our buttons so that we will do what we came in to intend to do. So, can we change or alter a contract? That is the question. So, I'm going to give you some examples in a bit here, but the answer is both yes and no. Um, yes, we can complete a contract and then things can change. Um, so say your contract was you chose to come into life and remember that you were a sovereign being and be fully empowered. You would have most likely contracted with more than one person to play out certain roles for you that would cause you to feel disempowered so that you recognize that you wanted to take your power back and needed to take whatever specific steps. So, could that contract be ended? Yes, if you had done your work and were empowered, but no, if you had not. But here's the issue that can come into play sometimes. Because, okay, so we made these contracts with other people and we come down into this 3D reality and everything's very heavy and dense. Well, you may realize that you've done your homework and that you no longer need people in your life to disempower you. But that other individual, that may just be a part of their nature. That's just, they're not going to change because they haven't done their homework yet. So they may not change, but chances are when you change yourself, your internal being, the reason for that contract will just naturally end. But for some people, they want to keep playing it out. So there are some things that we do when I do sessions at Embody that help us to break those contracts and cut those ties of those ones that are completed. Now, the ones that are not complete yet, where I would say, no, you can't alter or change that contract, is where the work just hasn't been done. You haven't done your homework, you haven't become empowered, or whatever the situation is. Say it's a marriage. Okay, so you've contracted with this other being and you ended up getting married, and your partner is supposed to disempower you, so you take your power back. Okay, so you finally take your power back, do your homework. Say you've got abandonment issues and that kind of thing. Well, that partner is going to play out that role until you heal yourself, and they possibly would abandon you. So that's the contract. But now, this person with the issues that came in asking for somebody to play out the abandonment role. Now, if they were to do their homework, this person who contracted to abandon them may not do that. Things may shift. You can't control what another person does. But so say the contract between the two of you, say the person one person changes, the other doesn't. So the persons that change decides to leave and end the contract. Well, then that's complete, but this other person, their contract's not ended. So they're going to, because there's a reason you were together. Say you both had a loss and you were working on these abandonment issues. Well, you worked on your abandonment issues. Your partner didn't grow with you, so you maybe separated, moved on, but your partner stayed here. Well, your partner still has that contract. So even though you're not fulfilling it with them, they're going to bring other people in their life that are a vibrational match that will fulfill that that contract. So we can try to say we're done, but we're just going to keep drawing the same things into our lives. I tried for years and years and years to end my contract with a dysfunctional relationship with my mother, and it just never worked. Well, that was because all of the internal work, and there was quite a bit that I had to do, wasn't done yet. Now it's done. Now it's complete. But now she's on the other side. Um, so those are some of the things that go on. You know, when you make a contract with someone, you work on fulfilling it. So if your contract's not fulfilled and you couldn't end it, what we would do in a session, myself and other people do this kind of work too, is that we would help teach you what you need to do energetically, behavior wise, that kind of thing, lifestyle wise, to make the changes so that contract can end. The other thing we can do work where we put, energetically, we speak to the other people's higher self, and we put them basically on notice that I'm taking my power back. And from this day forward, I am no longer going to allow myself to be disempowered, that kind of thing. You can put them on energetic notice, so to speak, and things can start to shift. Okay, so we've got that. So now I'm going to give you a few examples of some contracts that I've run across in sessions and just people that I've known. So one individual, and I've got notes. I wrote this out yesterday, so I'm going to be glancing at my notes because there have been so many. So one individual in a past life had made a false accusation against someone else intentionally. And so that other person, they actually just wanted to get him out of the way because they wanted to be with their partner. But so that other person spent a significant amount of time in jail being punished for this crime they never committed. So that karma's got to be balanced. And so those two same individuals, the accuser and the innocent person that spent time in jail, came into life this time and they had a contract with each other. Um, the person who was accused, um, and the innocent person's contract was they were to allow the person who accused them last time of doing something to them so that this person would take their power back and prosecute in this lifetime. And that individual who accused them falsely and caused them to be imprisoned last time ended up being sentenced to the same amount of time for the crime they committed, that they'd contracted to committed, as that individual who was innocent in that other lifetime spent in jail. So that can happen. Very interesting. Um, Another individual I know of, um, in a past lifetime, um, had been, oh gosh, had been not a very healthy, balanced individual and ended up raping and killing a teenage girl. And so, as you can imagine, when that person got back home and got back with their higher self and realized what they did, they were mortified. And that karma had to be balanced because those parents were left just devastated, wondering what happened. And so, in this lifetime, this individual had to experience a significant amount of physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse all through her youth because she then used those situations as a catalyst to where now she's doing her life purpose, where she's working with abused, runaway, homeless youth, drug addicted, that kind of thing. And that's her actual life purpose. But she needed to have that life experience so that she'd recognize what she was doing to balance the karma, because she's balancing the karma by working with these girls. So she had contracted with, her parents and all the people who abused her to have those situations occur so that she could turn it around and complete her mission and balance the karma. So that was a contract that no matter how much she tried or wanted to get out of it, she could not get out of it until she took the necessary steps and moved into the life purpose that she had. So I'm going to give you another example. Um, and this is from my own story, and you can check out my Salem series and those recordings if you want more information. But from my past life in Salem and in the Holocaust, I had two of them where my hands were damaged. They bound our wrists in Salem, and in my other videos, if you watch the Holocaust video, you'll see I had a guard as because I was in the twins experiment, and one of the guards, well, actually, it was a doctor, pulled off. I was with my identical twin sister, pulled off my thumbnails with the pliers. My wrists were bound as a punishment because I snuck my twin sister food. So, one of the things that I contracted in this lifetime, and it's a past life cellular memory bleed through, but I contracted it to come back in it. I have got arthritis in my thumbs, and I started getting this late 20s, early 30s, which was really way too early to be getting arthritis. And so the reason I contracted that, now I am doing what I am supposed to be doing right now with my healing work and metaphysical work. And initially, I started out in traditional medical care. I still am a nurse, but I don't work in it any longer. So I started out in that, and right away started realizing we were missing something. We were not getting the whole picture. So it was because of my arthritis and my searching for the cause that led me to take the steps I needed to reclaim all of my energy and start doing this work. Because had I not had this issue, um, that wouldn't have happened. But now, that being said, that was contracted. But this contract was altered because when at the point when I really realized what was going on and started becoming conscious, I realized I was told by my guides I had a choice to make. And I could consider this like a fork in the road. Now, I had always believed that I would never live past 40. I held that belief very strongly. And it was just a thought. I thought, well, I don't want to get old, and I'll just go by the time I'm 40 and it won't be so bad. That was always the belief I had. Well, come to find out, the reason being is because I chose this specific set of genetics, and my mother contracted. She had to give birth to me because she was somebody, a tormentor in past lives. So she had to come in as kind of a thorn in my side too to help me remember all this. This was a contract. But so I contracted to have this arthritic condition. And back in my early 30s, when I first started understanding it, what my guides told me was I could consider it like a fork in the road, where if I wanted to continue to be unconscious and not work on the issues at hand, my emotional clearing, that I could choose just to go down and they said it was the easier route down the road where my life would have ended at 40. Because what could have happened, this set of symptoms I had could have manifested into something systemic, such as rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. That was in my family. And my life could have ended prematurely because of it. But I started doing my homework And so I took the road on the left. And when I did that, I altered my contract. And so it did not develop into a systemic disease. It's a condition I still have, but with herbs. And well, that's part of the reason I'm doing the job that I'm doing now, as opposed to the nursing job. It's quite manageable. I hardly notice it, but I have difficulty with fine motor skills. And so that, therefore, it makes it difficult for me to have a traditional out of the home job, because I can't think of anything I could do except for maybe be a waiver at Walmart, because I just the constant irritation on my joints makes them swell and hurt. So spirits provided me with another way to make a living, and this was what I was supposed to be doing anyways. Now, what my issue was I didn't take it seriously. I could have taken better care of my joints and those kinds of things, and the damage wouldn't be as extreme as it is. But there's not a lot I can do about that now. But I can. I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm hopeful that someday it can just work itself out. I hold the potential for that. I am open for that. Now, another situation that was contracted that I wanted to just mention, and I've talked about this one in other videos, but it's such a good example. So, an individual I knew who was a teacher was actually taking our hypnosis and hypnotherapy training with us because he wanted to help his students. And so now this young man had grown up, he was adopted, so there were some abandonment issues there. But he had grown up in a family with a mother that had schizophrenia. And so there were problems there. There always is when there's a sick individual in the family. Doesn't matter what the sickness is, the child doesn't have a normal childhood because it's always about the sick individual. But so anyway, so there were some issues there, and along with the abandonment issues. But when So what our teacher did was he regressed him back to his pre-birth state, before he incarnated, before he came into life, while he was in the planning stage. And what we learned was, well, some of this was psychic information that I got later, and some of it came through, and I'm not going to decipher which is which now. But what between these two avenues, what we learned was he contracted to come through his birth mother because he wanted a specific set of genetics. And now, this birth mother, there was more to it. In some other past life, something had happened where she had contributed to his death. So she contracted to give birth to him, but not necessarily to raise him. But he needed that specific set of genetics. And he needed the experience from his adoptive mom of the schizophrenia so that he could understand it. It's one thing to read about something, but it's something else to live it. So that he could understand it, so that he would know how to help his students when they were going through a hard time. So he had a contract with his birth mother and with his adoptive family. Could he get out of this contract? No, of course not. But he could do the energy work and the healing necessary to understand it so that it no longer bothered him and affected him. Because once he brought it all to the surface and healed it, it was at that point that he was more able to help his students. Because when you're at the point where you're being emotionally triggered, when you're trying to help someone, you're less effective. It's when you've healed that yourself and you can assist another on their journey, that's when it's more effective. So that's why he contracted that. So there are some things we can do to lessen the severity of it and to teach you what steps you need to take to complete your contract. But no, just going in a meditation and imagining that you're ripping up a written piece of paper is not actually going to help, except for maybe symbolically. You're going to put things in in motion and set the intention energetically. That's going to happen, which that in itself is very effective, but you're still going to have the work to do. but you may find a psychic or somebody to work with that can help you locate what the specific contract was, what lifetime it was, how it's playing out. And they'll help you to reclaim that energy from the past, bring it into the now, because we heal in the now. And you heal it, and then we close the door so that you no longer keep reflecting back into the past. What happened, what happened, what happened. So with that, oh, and I just want to point out, I've got a rainbow going on here, and that's very interesting. That's never shown up in one of my channelings, but maybe one of my clients can let me know what you think this is. I think it's just a reflection, but my website is www.embody-light.com. Have a blessed day. I love you all. Bye-bye.